I feel like Zsa Zsa Gabor right now on her fourth wedding night. I know what needs to be done, just not quite sure how to get started. Harlan, thank you for the introduction.
Welcome.
Thank you for being a friend, and I'm honored to be here. I also want to thank you for the next half an hour, not that you have a choice at me standing in front of you. The stake on the ground that I want to share with you is this. I'm hoping I can help you find a way to think differently. As a result, the rest of your life will be very different. Let me start off with this quote. Thought is a force, and its invariable law is that like creates like, and that the life always invariably follows the thought. As we think, we become. And the glory of life is that it is given to each to be the master of his thought. How many of you have read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich? Notice the title is not Do and Grow Rich, which is what a lot of us are doing now. It's a mindset. Since 2001, 6,800 plus hours of conversation, I get to know a lot of what you guys are going through. Your worries, your concern, your challenges, and your immense success. There's thousands of certified coaches. Only a handful of us are master coach. Even fewer of us are concentrating on this profession. I've dedicated my life to serve this profession, and I love it. That's why the tagline is really inspiring lawyers to live a life of ease and financial freedom. December last year, I turned 55 years old. I decided, because I'm going to be in Florida for a month, to go on a cruise. That's what you do in Florida, right? Right. They told me I was a senior citizen. Those of you who think I don't look like 55 years old, put up your hand. I like you. I'll give you two secrets. Change the color of the hair and Chinese oil volet. I've got lots of that in my booth. Come see me. In golfing metaphor, I'm playing the back nine of my life. That means I have only finite amount of time to do the things that I love the things that I do, and be with the people I want to be with and have the time to do it. Isn't that what we're striving for? That's the goal. Time is now the most valuable commodity that each of you will have. I truly hope finding these 5 dots, connecting it, you will find a way to rebalance your life. It's not an option anymore. So let me start off a 40,000 foot perspective. Back in the mid-80s, backpacked through Europe, stood in front of the Berlin Wall, never thought the wall one day would cease to exist. The last known law where a human being can prejudice another human being no longer exists. Apartheid. There's no such law anymore. It's only in the mindset of people. Barack Obama is your president. Arab Spring, Wall Street occupancy. What happened recently in Europe? How quickly the agency are getting together to solve that? We are moving warp speed. Remember that? Some of you probably still have one of these in your closet somewhere, right? Wasn't that long ago, wasn't it? My son says to me, Dad, how does that work? So change is constant. It's not an option how you deal with changes. We need strategy, and that's what these 5 dots are about. By the way, Web 3.0, cars that they're designing don't use traffic lights. Cars will be talking to cars, talking to a system that moves traffic along. Think of what that would do to your business. So, dot number one, let's get started. Know what you really, really want out of life. Your biblical verse, my biblical verse says, where there's no vision, the people perish. An unexamined life is not worth living, is what Socrates is reminding us. Making and accumulating lots of money, having vast array of material possession, and winning every case is not a vision. Think of pre-Roger Bannister Day. What did every runner do? Run as fast as they can until he said, I am going to break the 4-minute miles. That's a vision. Vision gives you depth, gives you meaning, gives you a different way of living life. So, as coaches, we ask a lot of questions. What are some of the questions that can help you get there? Like, what does success mean to you? What does a perfect life mean to you, or a perfect law firm means to you? What do you need to do to live a life of non-regret? If you would die tomorrow, what do you need to make peace with a higher power, whatever that means to you? What's your bucket list? So those are great questions to begin to distill that. Thought number two, know that each of you have a life purpose here. I love the thumbprint example. 7 billion of us, 14 billion thumbprint, not one of them is the same. You gotta ask yourself why. Every tree is different, every snowflake is different. Why? Each one of you are special and unique, and because of that, you have a purpose. Do you have a sense of what you came to this earth to do and experience? How does your life purpose connect to what you do and what you're currently facing? What do you absolutely love to do where time doesn't even exist? Ever seen a little kid play with a Nintendo game? They don't need to eat. They don't even need to go to washroom, right? They just love it. If you never had to work a day in your life and all your financial obligation is met, what would you do? CNN calls you, 30 million viewer. Give you 5 minutes. What would be your message? What do people typically ask you for help in? That's the beginning of finding out what your purpose is. Thought number three, leverage all that you are good at and reshape what you do and how you do it. Richard Koch wrote a book called The 80-20 Manager. The secret to working less and achieving more, as I was talking to the gentleman over there. This is a great book to read. He says, most of us are not leveraging our gifts to the fullest. We spend time doing things that we don't like instead of doing what we love. How do you leverage your gift, valuing your time by working less and charging more? That's the key. Here's what I do know. When you focus on what you love what you do, emotionally your energy is different. People around you will feel that energy. And if you constantly are anchoring in that kind of energy, how can success not chase after you? How can you not live a much more balanced life? That's the way to impact the bottom line. So, a couple of ways to lift the 80-20. Write out a list of all the things you don't like to do. Delegate it. Find somebody else to do it. Technology has come a long way. Use it. Work with a mentor, advisor, or business coach to streamline your practice. Of course, you can always hire me, but that's a self-promotional plug. We coaches are now the most sought-after executive perks in the U.S. It's the same question, why does Tiger Woods need a coach? Not because he doesn't know how to play golf. It's because he wants to play a better game of golf. Whether it's improving his old swing or bringing that swing back. Each of you here in this room are incredibly successful. You know how I know? You're staying in one of the most expensive real estate in the world. That's how I know. Now how to play a better game in less time. Learn the 80-20 rules. Write out what's blocking you. Is it the fear of success, fear of failure? I don't care what it is, write it out. Examine it. Underneath that block, usually there is a fear. And fear has its energy. That's why I've always believed what you resist persists. Or you can never get enough of what you don't want. Or worry is praying for things you don't want. Right? Worry is a form of prayers. You keep telling, that's what you attract from the first slide. How do you maintain a positive mental attitude every day when you've got an $80,000 payroll coming and you're not quite sure you're going to make it? How do you deal with when your number one attorney decides to take his law practice somewhere else? How do you maintain that attitude? How do you rate your ability to willingness to listen to your intuition? Your intuition is your body connect to an intelligence. How often do you listen to that? How often do you use that? Are you doing what you think you should, or are you doing what you love? The minute when I hear myself use the word should, I stop. Sammy, is that an old paradigm thinking? Sammy, is that an old habit passed on that I should do? To give pulse. Who and what else can you leverage what you do to help you be more successful? Jim Rohn, an awesome author. This is what he says. You are the byproduct of the best 5 books you read or the best 5 friends you hang out with. Who are your best friends? Thought number 4. Cultivate more present in every single moment to reveal the solution. This is probably the heart of the presentation. We have so many things going on in our minds, so many things going on in our life. How do we stay present every single moment? Dr. Deepak Chopra, which I co-wrote a book with, he said in his research, on a given day, we have between 40 to 60,000 thoughts that go through our mind. Look, I'm the only Chinese guy here. Look, he's speaking Chinglish. There's lots of thoughts that goes on in our mind. Those are one thoughts. Most of those thoughts are either negative or judgment thoughts. And you know what the worst part is? The next day, we repeat 95% of those thoughts. That means we are only changing 5% of our mind. If you remember the first slide, what your thought is where your life goes, you're only growing and evolving about 5%. And with the changes coming, somebody took my notes. Somebody said early on, until you move outside of your comfort zone, you may not survive what's to come. And I truly believe what's to come. We haven't seen the kind of technology that's going to change our lives. That's what I'm talking about here. So usually our thought goes in 2 places. We bring the past to the present. There's all sorts of emotion, usually it's kind of anger. Or we bring the uncertainty of the future to the present. That causes anxiety. So if I stand here and tell you about what my wonderful previous wife did 18 years ago, I guarantee you I'll be angry. If I take the future, I treated myself to a cottage on an island. Of course, when you buy a cottage on an island, you need a pontoon boat to put over all the supplies and people and so on and so forth. And of course, you need a speedboat. Of course, the toys that go with it. Of course, we need a hot tub this year. When I think of those commitments, I get stressed. I get anxiety. The trick is in this busy world, how do you stay present? Every single moment. This is the invitation. Most of us, our thought runs our lives. You know how you can't sleep? You have this thought. Before that finished, this next thought. Before that's finished, the thought just keeps going until you get to the very end, and then guess what happened? It starts all over again. Having consciousness, it's about being aware every moment, what thought am I choosing? That's the invitation. So finding a way to tame your mind by learning to cultivate the silence between the 2 thoughts. That's how you live more consciously and aware in your life. Two musical notes. Without silence, there's no music. Space between the two bars is what hold the animals in a zoo so that it doesn't eat us alive. There's only one number that can never be divided. 0. When you are in that space, that's where infinite possibility and creativity happen. Why do you think people like Einstein spend so much time daydreaming? He comes up with solutions that are very unique. That's why. As a sign in the Alcoholic Anonymous says, your best thinking got you here. This is why Marshall Goldschmidt, one of our, what we call, godfather of coaches, if you will, he wrote a book called What Got You Here May Not Get You Over There. Mindset again. So, Danielle Pink wrote a book a couple years ago, A Whole New Mind, Why Right-Brainer Will Rule the Future. This is what he says. When you master your thoughts to focus on and choose the thought you most desire, a more successful way of living is sure to follow. He also said, why right-brainer will rule the future. Most of you here are very good left-brain thinker. You're also very high achiever. The invitation is how to lean a little bit more on the right brain to have a balance. I used to own a restaurant, catering company. One of the things I've always said to the staff is this. If you always think what you always thought, you'll always get what you always got. If you don't like the problem, stop blaming on the problem. Find a different solution by choosing a different thought, because you are either part of the problem or part of the solution. You can never be both. So, how do we create more awareness present in our life? Yoga was a foreign word back in the 70s, right? How many of you practice yoga? Oh, few of you. Meditation is what we're coming to. How do you practice that stillness with all the busyness that's going on? That's the invitation. Make friends with silence by turning off your technology. I was in Cuba 3 weeks ago. That's before Americans get a chance to do something. 16 minutes to send two emails up and down, and then the system crashed. I loved it because I said to myself, I need a technology unplugged. Awesome. Unplug technology. Take long walk in nature, have a spa day. I try to get a massage in once a week. Here's a beautiful thing. Can you randomly schedule a day where there's nothing on your calendar? Nothing. Do you know what that does to the soul and spirit? Do you know how much resolution potentially may come out of that day? We don't do that. Learn to be grateful for every interaction, right? If you believe the thought that you choose, it's what follows. The more grateful thought you choose, the more those things are going to come into your life. During difficult situations, ask different questions. Why at this chapter of my life am I experiencing this? What am I learning? What am I not learning? What do I need to learn? Because everything to me now is about growth and evolution, if you understand what your purpose in this life is. I've always believed when you ask the right question, like I said, the answer always comes, is to ask the right question. Finally, make peace with your impermanence. In our Western culture, we don't talk about that. We live a life of life is certain, death is uncertain. Ask the Air Asia family and their relatives, and they'll tell you death is certain, life is uncertain, including those 2 Malaysian aircraft. That was my country of birth, by the way. How I came to this peace is this thinking. If we all have a shelf life, me included, wouldn't I want to know what the game is Like a football game, wouldn't you want to know how you play the game and know the rules? If I know I have a shovel, what is that all about? So that was my search into making peace with impermanence. Ultimately, making peace with it is to deal with the ultimate fear. It's to deal with the ultimate unknown, right? When I close my eyes for the last time, I don't know where I'm going. Making peace with that unknown, I guarantee you, you will deal with your uncertainty, with the law firm and everything else very differently. Some books will help you out. Tibetan Living and Dying. Took me 11 months to read that book. It's not easy. I brought a little tiny book on this trip because I'm going to be on cruise ship, not much internet, right? So I thought I'd plow through it again. 3.5 years later, as my father fade in front of me, I look at the book, I look at my father. It was like a blueprint. It was like a guide. I had the best closure, best conversation, best connection with my dad I ever had. Great book. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book called Question and Answer in Death and Dying. She couldn't understand, out of the 1,200 patients that she was in the room when they die, how some go peacefully, some kicking, don't want to go. She wants to know why. That's the research. Anita Majani, Dying to Be Me. 19 golf ball size cancer. Doctor thought she was dead, put a sheet over her. Her near-death experience, her writing of what she saw. It's a profound book for some of you who have loved ones that are going through cancer, or perhaps yourself. It's a wonderful book to get acquainted with. So, test question. If you had 6 months to live, what would you do every day? I'll bet you some of you probably will do something very different. That's my test question frequently. So, recap. Know what you really want out of this life. That vision is so important. Write it out. Feel it. Know that you have a life purpose. Discover what that is. 80-20. Do what you're good at doing. Lean on that piece. Cultivate more present every single day. Make peace with your impermanence. So do what you love what you do, really is what I'm inviting you to create the kind of life that you deserve. So, pardon me, if you have questions, I know this is not the forum, stop me. I have a booth somewhere at the end of somewhere, come see me. I have an email address I'll share with you. You don't have to be my clients. I just love to serve. I love this profession, so by all means. I leave you with this quote. The past is not your potential, for potential has no bounds. Choose to break free from your self-imposed limits. Use your imagination to create a life of endless possibility. Experience your magnificence firsthand. I give you all green light, and I wish you a life that you truly deserve. Namaste.